Hey there, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. This is Piano Man Steve Lungrin, founder of the Piano Man Approach online piano course series, where we ditch the notes on the staff and we get to where we are trying to get to faster and with more fun along the way, largely through the use of those guitar chords that they print at the top of the sheet music and in fake books and lead sheets and all that good stuff. And I'm here with one of my song master classes where we're going to take a song you've probably heard and I'm going to break it down and show you some tips and tools that would allow you to play it and sound pretty awesome while you do it, even without having to do it the same way every single time and without having to read a single note on the staff. So what we're going to be looking at today is the beautiful, epic ballad, Sometimes When We Touch, by Dan Hill, staple of 70s soft rock. And so we're going to tear into that. Really quick, I just want to ask if you enjoy this video and you would like to support my work, I'd sure would appreciate likes and shares and comments and all of that stuff. Subscribe to my channel. Got lots of content like this over at my YouTube channel, and you can see my links down in the description there. I've got a free mini course that I would welcome you to take advantage of, where I walk you through my method. It's called the Song Learning Blueprint course. You're welcome to take that, and you can also, at my website, you'll see there's a link to my blog where I share a bunch of stuff that I've done here and some thoughts about both performance and educational content. And, of course, you can just browse my YouTube video for all kinds of goodies. So, anyway, let's get started with this. So if you're not familiar with this song, it kind of sounds a little bit like this. Really, really pretty stuff. So the question is, if we're not going to be reading notes on the staff, how do we get to that? Okay. Well, the first thing we have to do, obviously, is we have to read the chord symbols. And I've got a little formula that we use, but we're just going to kind of informally work through it. So you have to read the chord symbols, and the chord symbols are going to tell you something like this. D, G over D, which is a G chord with a D bass, and then an A chord over a D bass, back to D. F sharp minor, B minor 7, and then an E7, C sharp, B minor, D over A, G, D over F sharp, E minor, A suspended, A. Okay, that's all the farther we're going to go for right this second. Then we'll take a look at the chorus. But anyway, so you have to read the chord symbols. And if you don't know how to read chord symbols, essentially what we're talking about here is in the key of D, if you know what a D major scale is. Okay. That first note is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, right? Well, a chord is the 1, 3, and the 5. That's all it is. If it's a minor chord, then it's a minor scale starting on whatever they call it. So when it's a B minor chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? 1, 3, 5. That's all it is. Okay? So, the next thing you have to do is you have to take those chords and you have to plug them into a rhythm pattern. This is why so many people are able to play acoustic guitar even if they play it badly. It's because they have strumming patterns that they can use that work on lots of different songs. So for this one, I have an essential rhythm pattern that we're going to modify a little bit to make work with the song better, but we're going to start there. It's called the heartbeat feel or the syncopated feel. And what that means is that in the left hand, you're going to make kind of a heartbeat. So it's something like this. Here's our tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And 1, 2, and 3, 4. Boom, 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 boom. That's why we call it the heartbeat feel. Now, for right now in the right hand, all we're going to do is play quarter notes over the top of it. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay. Sometimes when we touch, the honesty is too much, and I have to close my eyes and hide. So can you see how that takes the chords and it turns it into a song? It turns it into music. It makes it come alive. Now, we can leave it there, but we're going to do some things. We're going to tweak that rhythm pattern a little bit to really make it fit the song. But can you hear how just having a rhythm pattern to plug it into pretty much turns it into a song? Okay? Now, the third thing that we do is we take the chords that we're already playing and we use them as the basis for some simple improv choices. And what that does is it helps us do a couple of things. One, little improv choices help us modify and mold that rhythm pattern into something that fits the song perfectly. And the other thing that it does is it gives us a way to fill in the gaps in between the melody. Okay? So, and we've got a couple of different ones that I'm going to show you as we get going. So let's come back to improv as we get into the song a little bit. What can we do? If you were to listen to that recording, you would hear things like this going on. It just kind of sounds like a constant flow. Billy Joel calls it banjo fingers, but there's a constant flow, broken sort of eighth notes going on in the background. So you kind of hear this sort of thing. So how do we do that? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a pattern that we can use in our right hand that gives us that nice, constant, perpetual eighth note flow. Okay? Now, one of my favorite ways to do that when you're in a song in this time signature, which is just 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It's 4/4 time. Is I like to play a chord and then arpeggiate it up from the bottom note. What does arpeggiate mean? It means to play the chord one note at a time, either in an ascending or descending fashion. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and... Now, in this case, we're actually probably playing 16th notes. So it's like 1, da, da. But that doesn't matter. We can count it. Like, I think it's kind of tricky to count it as a 16th note. So we're almost going to take the song and think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, because then we don't have to get down to 1E and 2E and 3E and it's just, I find that kind of counting to be very, very cumbersome. And since we're not reading notes on the staff, we don't have to do that. We can split each measure in half and make each half of a measure 4 counts. So we're just going to think of it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 3 and 4, 1. Okay? So what I like about this is that it just gives me something that I can do that will keep that perpetual flow. Get it up to speed, then that becomes kind of a powerful, constant flow for you. You ask me if I love you, and I choke on my reply. Then when it's time to move to an F sharp minor, same pattern is working in the right hand. B minor, same thing. E7, A, E minor, A, D, and then, just because it changes a little bit, we have this little descending line, right? And then right back to the heartbeat. And all we're going to do there is go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and so chord, arpeggio, chord, arpeggio, chord, arpeggio, chord, arpeggio, and then right back to the same flowing pattern that we were doing before. Now, this is not the only way to create a constant flow of eighth notes, but it's a good place to start, and it gives you something that you can do repeatedly on any chord and on any inversion of a chord that you want. Okay? So you can play it in this inversion of D, where you're playing D, F sharp, A, right? But you could also play it on this inversion of D, F sharp, A, D. And you could play it on this inversion of a D chord, where you have A on the bottom. A, D, F sharp. Okay? Now, the reason why I love this so much is that this arpeggiated attack, right? That's one of my favorite things that you can do for improv is arpeggiate a chord. Okay, so if there were a gap in the melody, you can always just go or something like that to fill a little space. In this case, we're actually using it to modify the rhythm pattern so that we can create a smooth, flowing, almost like a finger picking on a guitar. Okay, so let me just play kind of slowly all the way through the chord progression of the verses. Okay? So we start out on D, like so. Starting right now. Okay? So it works beautifully all the way through there. If you feel comfortable playing full octaves in your chords, then what you can do is play the exact same thing we were just doing, but stretch down to a full octave and then come up. But on the top, play 2 notes at the top. In this case, I have it in root inversion, right? So the root of the chord is on the bottom, which is an A chord in this case. So I've got A, C, and that means I'm playing the 5, which is E, and the root up top. Okay. So let me do that one more time, and maybe I'll play more of the octave version of these chords this time, but I'm going to play it kind of slow so you can see. All we've done is take the chord progression that was already printed out on whatever sheet music, whatever fake book, whatever lead sheet you found, and then we applied this simple rhythm pattern and we modified it to create a kind of a nice flowing legato 8th or 16th note, depending on how you feel like counting it. And that's all we've done. But it sure does sound nice and full and a little bit sophisticated now. Starting. So nice. Doesn't take anything more complicated than that, and it just completely fills the room up. That's the power of rhythm patterns. And when you can make little tweaks like that to it, then suddenly the rhythm pattern sounds like it was made specifically for this song, when in fact you're doing something that could work on hundreds of other songs. That's something that I really, really love about this method. Okay. Now, when we get to the chorus, we get to use exactly the same rhythm pattern, but the chords change just a little bit. So it's D, G, A, F sharp minor, B minor, 7, A, G, so it's A, G, D over an F sharp bass, E minor, then back to D, G, A, F sharp minor, E minor, and then we do something that I call suspension tension. It's a G chord over an A bass, creating sort of a tension. A, we release it on that A chord. And then D. Okay? And when you play that, you get sometimes when we touch, the audience needs too much, and I have to close my eyes and hide. I wanna hold it till I die, till we both break down and cry. I wanna hold you till the fear in me subsides. Okay? So, same rhythm pattern, just a little bit different set of chords. And this song is well on its way to sounding awfully good. And it's really something that if it feels a little daunting right now, all you need to do to get up to speed with it is to just sit on a D chord and practice this rhythm pattern. You don't even have to change chords. Start with a 3-note chord if this is giving you grief, and just try this. And then try to add in that thump thump, the heartbeat. And then try to bring the tempo a little bit faster. And then a little faster yet. Once you have that under your fingers, then if you want to, you can try extending it to an octave chord. When you can master it on one chord, then the next thing you want to do is do it in the different inversions of that chord. So just first start here with D, then try it here with D. Then try it here. Or here. Here. Get those things under your fingers, because when you can do it in one chord, you can do it in any other chord. And then it's just a matter of getting used to where you're jumping. What chord are you jumping to? And so sometimes what helps with that is don't even try to use the fancy rhythm pattern at first. Get that under your fingers working on just one chord. And then get the chord progression under your fingers by just playing something really simple like quarter notes. So just be like... F sharp minor, Okay. So those are tricks that you can use just to get things under your fingers a little bit. And some of you, I mean, let's be honest, some of you are going to have an easier time with this than others, and that's perfectly okay. This method works really, really well for folks who have a little bit of piano training and are just frustrated because they didn't really get where they wanted to get with it. If you wanted to play popular music on the radio, then traditional piano lessons failed you pretty badly. It's the worst possible way to play popular music that you grew up hearing on the radio and on your CD player and then on your iPod and all of that stuff, because it just isn't designed for that. It just isn't designed for that. What you needed was something that helped you not just copy what the piano player may or may not have done in a particular song, if there was a piano player. What you needed was something that would help you approximate what the whole band was doing. And there is no sheet music, not any sheet music on God's green earth that does that. It's just not what it's designed to do. It's not me ripping on it as a medium. There's a lot of wonderful uses for reading notation on a staff. I'm not good at it, but the people who are brilliant at it, I got to tell you, my hats are off to them. They have learned a beautiful skill, and there's a lot of wonderful things to do with it. But if what you wanted was to be able to sit down and play credible versions of the songs that you love that came from the popular genres, then that is no way to go about it. It takes way too long to master. You are completely at the mercy of somebody's arrangement, whatever key they put it in, etc., etc. Sometimes it's way below your skill level. Sometimes it's way above your skill level. And you have no control. You are just stuck with what they wrote, and it will never, ever sound like the band. It just doesn't. That's not what they do. It just isn't what they do. What's nice about this method is, even if you are a more novice player, there's a credible version of this available to you at your level, because it still sounds pretty darn good if all you can do is play just the basic rhythm pattern here, right? You ask me if I love you, and I choke on my reply. I'd rather hurt you honestly than mislead you with a lie. Who am I to judge you on what you say or do? Don't they just begin to see the real you? And sometimes when we touch, the honesty is too much. If that's all you can do, that's great. That sounds really good. It sounds really good. If you're a little more advanced, then you might be ready to take on that arpeggiated idea that we were talking about and make it sound a little more like what was going on in the recording. But you don't have to. So this is something that you can modify to your skill set. And when you really get, the essential rhythm patterns, there's 4 essential rhythm patterns that I teach. When they're under your fingers and you're really, really comfortable moving around to all the different major and minor chords, particularly major and minor. There's other kinds, but if you got major and minor down, you're 90% of the way. When you can jump around to whatever major or minor chord is written down and you've got those 4 rhythm patterns pretty solid under your belt, you've got credible versions of like 85% of all the songs ever recorded from like 1920 all the way forward to the present day. And you can modify it to where your skill set is. That's why I like this method. And that's why it's ideal for popular music. And you don't have to play it exactly the same way every time, but the essence will always be intact. And because the essence is intact, then it's always going to feel right, even though there will be subtle nuances that are different every single time you play. And so the opening riff, for example, it's just D, D7, G minor, D, right? And it's all over a D bass. And our little modification of the rhythm pattern works beautifully with it. And when you have that under your belt, then suddenly this really, really starts to jump off the keyboard. You ask me if I love you, and I choke on my reply. I'd rather hurt you honestly than mislead you with a lie. Who am I to blame you for what you say or do? I'm only just beginning to see the real you. And sometimes when we touch, the honesty is too much, and I have to close my eyes and hide. Wanna hold you till I die, till we both break down and cry. I wanna hold you till the fear in me subsides. So, please forgive my singing. I would do this in a different key for my voice if I wanted to sing it for real, but I wanted to teach it in Dan Hill's original key of D. But that's what's exciting about this is it's so flexible. It's so modifiable. And it just really, really brings music to life. And when you get these tools under your belt, remember, that's the thing. We didn't learn how to play sometimes when we touch. What we learned was a rhythm pattern, a modification to a rhythm pattern, and we learned some chords. Those are transferable skills to the next song and the next song and the next song. There's thousands of songs that this rhythm pattern can work with. And there's thousands of songs that this modification of this rhythm pattern can work with. So every time you master any song or you get any song to a place where you feel kind of excited about it, you are literally making yourself a better player for hundreds or thousands of other songs as well. So that's what I love about this method, and it's more fun and more fast to learn the songs that you love. You just have to have the raw materials. I hope that if you are an advanced enough player that you're able to walk away and do some stuff with this right away, that is fantastic. If you are new to this, if you watch this video several times, you're going to walk away with some things that you can do too. But more importantly, what I hope I've been able to do is change the way you look at music. Change the way you look at how to play music. Because I don't ever want you to think about it the same way again. Okay? You are not a slave to learning it one way and then having to stick to it to, note for note that way every single time. That's cumbersome and it's very, very difficult. And most people don't have that good of a memory anyway. If you are going to do it that way, then sheet music's the way to go, but you're never going to have the nuances and the pace and the feel that you can get from this method by following sheet music. It just isn't designed to do that. So anyway, more power to you. This method is not for everybody, but it's for everybody who wants to make music the way I love to make music. So I'll let you determine whether that is you or not, because either this resonated with you or it didn't. I sure appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and go down this rabbit hole with me. If you want to go deeper with me, please check out all of the plethora of stuff I've got on my YouTube channel, read my blog, get the Song Learning Blueprint mini course absolutely free at the links below, and learn more about my courses, my step-by-step courses as well in the process. But mostly, have fun with it, guys, because I've been saying for 15 years since I first started teaching piano on the internet, if you're not having fun when you're making music, you are doing it wrong. Okay, I'm going to get out of here for now. Thanks a lot, and we'll be back with more of these in the future. It was fun. Take care.